Minister malungil tutaw le korkaw I mean wingil litasil sile korkaw official time ki orang ra sulem lo sap memel ngo pabil ngame me apir el alsil sil mertial hearing maloi se minister a president tra senate tangartiang ma vice president tra senate ma arbekal senator sangartiang etial committee ra banking and insurance and financial matters logi usel papier lilkong aki mlekol ra ateme mulme apire ku poto sauda kai kitel tablol item sengar matantal el tokoira digital residency ma kai kitel stablecoin a chairman ngaka chairman tel committee madir kamlo pesen mesoi subum official time vice chairman mlehentel tel committee atangakul senator al debel edire kalngaringi Senator Inapol direkal tara member tel committee ma direkal Senator Whips ma Senator Tabalwal ma atangakal Vice President tra Senate Senator Marior ma direkal part tel committee do urang asuli ral pekladal no sabril direkal me attend tel al hearing el alitasil so maloi se minister kadmo ola pa hindi ka atsendal kiple propose ang armadad le multiple items ang artel poto saudo only di sa digital residency sa digital stablecoin makulingit maskawa ate al tutaw el alitasil sumpom open el bay kora maskita highlighter sa digital residency ya bomren ke edo trang lengarinyak ager mangir el kirel say raw kuktumo ban el mona a stablecoin. Ngadangin magkatatrail ko rati logi take it hearing. Malway sa minister ulaw le korka mamsulot.
Thank you, Chairman Basilius, and good afternoon, President of the Senate, and Vice President, and other senators. Thank you for the opportunity to come and discuss these two very important fintech initiatives that are part of the President's diversification strategy for our economy and the creation of new industry, as well as modernizing our country and taking advantage of the increased speed of the internet afforded by our two fiber optic cables. So regarding the Digital Residency Act, as you know, this started as an initiative with another partner. We were able to pass legislation and start the program. We have established under law an office under the ministry led by Director Jay Anson. We also have two other staff currently under his supervision. One who is being borrowed from Immigration Division, who has experience in being able to work with official identification documents. So it's been very useful to the program. And the other is more fintech specialist who has more expertise in technology. So we have a very good team in Palau. We work very closely with our partner out of California to administer the program. We have an agreement with them, and we are monitoring their compliance with the agreement. We also have worked collaboratively together with them to promote this program. I'm happy to report that the last information I received from Director Anson is that we've already reached 9,000 residents. And as you know, part of this digital residency program is another way to get revenues for the country. If you think about it, the digital resident brings in the equivalent of the same money as one tourist would bring for PPEF without impacting our environment. So this is also a clean industry. And we have grown by virtue of our promotion of the program, our partners' promotion of the program, and this also involves attending international conferences. According to Director Anson, every time we attend a conference, we typically will result in 1,000 new residents. So we are working hard to put together a strong budget for 2024 that will allow us to increase the participation in these conferences. We are also, I would like to report that our residents are actually prepaying in some cases for multiple years of residency. So the program is quite popular. Other residents are asking, what else can I get out of this? We have two initiatives that we put forward under Digital Residency. One of them is the Postal Service. This will allow them to take advantage of Palau as a postal service country and basically equates to transshipment. We can be a little Singapore in the Pacific Islands. The other is improved immigration privileges. So basically we let them stay a little longer than a typical tourist would stay. Instead of 90 days, they can stay up to 210 days. This is targeted towards those digital residents who are also digital nomads. And those people we expect to come here, and they will conduct business here with TikTok or other Facebook kind of technology, and rent apartments here, buy tours, buy goods from the store. So we will get additional advantages out of them. So it also promotes Palau by these, I think the word is influencers, these people who show Palau to the rest of the world and increase more interest in Palau for digital residents as well as tourists. So I think the program has been working well. I'm glad it hasn't exploded because we want to be able to manage the program and avoid any challenges that might come up. So it's been very positive. Last year we did submit our required annual report. I actually have the draft and we'll be finalizing that and submitting the annual report for the Digital Residency Office to Congress this month. So maybe I'll stop there. It's very high-level overview of the program so far, and if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer.
Kamsulang minister to open raw lang ng mura del senator sa nga rin akarili kay mamasaylal pa bilang ulaw lang mura Vice President ta Senate Senator Marior.
Sulla cene il tasil se ministere pamsaura igal blam presentation na kau akora di il mutul bakal morsel time ra trail mer olbirak lulal mo mrur tegi la lula Digital Residency gelmle bebiramle tingil otrulel tegi la idea ose tiang mal jangaral bo change ringira immigration law usul time ko maset tiang adia kaudo dul morngi tiang adi mongi lorur teringi dingil mengerger. I understand yang arnya 100,000 la appropriate le kortegi de lobis. Makura dikira ose ay ke ngaramang ay ke sele mo maltraring olbilo sem lala al ke tiako maset dia kaudo dul morngi. Ya uri leng morngi ongi tilme appropriate sel 100,000. Usul time se igi del luldas le me sera abe maltraring ko maset target 3 million sul adal ngara wasina. El kirel tegi del digamos building ay ke rekoblurir mutual residency garde merko stat el ngai gai gidel business rai gale coins ma mang agera ko sengra mang agel ser omel trarngin ku ka na ringi mai gai gidel mongot mokrelal ma presentation ko mi madangi la sengarnya time ngarnya sel proposed regulation lem sendringil mera circulating il waseng mo ornya tul renewal sen 90 days mo 90 days el mutul extend el mutul 90 days ma agera sengramang amle asen dia katsen salula immigration yete kom atsen salula immigration amlo dertial idire kan mamlaw do appropriation koalisyon mo na sa tiyang malgang gester ngi umne selvo multrari ko masyar adal mo murur ngi di til mau dir tel la tel residency.
Thank you, Vice President. If I can answer what I think I understood from your, I think there are three questions. One is money for the program. If you remember the budget, it's about fintech initiatives. So the money that we're using is to develop other initiatives in the fintech space, mostly related to our participation in these other activities, to include Stablecoin, although I can't think of any particular expense that we've spent. A lot of it is just basically covering the salaries of our people that I mentioned. So
Awero mo be awi ga gidan duk initiative tal Stablecoin ng partnering. Akmal ko le appropriation ng long amnora tal residency. Kam koran mutul mal small dagil mo blok.
I think the description of the budget item is for, sorry, I can't think of it specifically, but it talks about not digital residency, not Stablecoin, but promotion of digital initiatives or something like that. So it's meant for development work. And I'm trying to think of any specific thing that we've spent on for like Stablecoin, but there isn't. It's been used basically to finance office staff. So we've been using this money basically for director's salary and some expenses, but we haven't really tapped into all of the money as of yet. So that's reference to the money. So every digital resident pays over $250 for their membership, their digital residency. A lot of the money in terms of costs are taken by our partner. Out of that 250 some dollars, $100 comes to us. We always get $100. If we come up with new programs under digital residency, for instance, the foreign corporate registry that we are currently in PD1, that is another initiative that we are considering putting together as part of digital residency. The transshipment services through the U.S. Postal Service is another one. And then the one for immigration is another type of tourism for digital nomads. So when we talk about not changing immigration law, we mean that we're not going to be making a new residency status. We're just giving additional privileges to a visitor. So longer stay is what we're doing. So we're not changing the law. It's actually just the regulation to increase the time that they can stay in Palau so that it's more attractive. We just put that regulation out. We know that there have been digital residents visiting Palau, and when we talk to them, they all say that this would be a positive thing, but we haven't really seen anything come out of it yet. So this is an attempt to try to create something more out of the program, but not the specific purpose of the program, if that makes any sense. I think it's important also for senators to realize that this space, this whole digital space, has been changing very rapidly. If you're following the news, you would see that Coinbase was recently attacked by the regulators. Binance was recently attacked by the regulators. And there are different reasons. And it's not just the U.S., it's the UK and other countries that are attacking this area. In fact, Palau was attacked recently. There was a Wall Street Journal article about Palau and sort of an allegation that we are creating an opportunity for other people like the Chinese to use this program to circumvent U.S. laws, which is not the case, and we responded to this. We've been very open with what we're doing and discouraging that direction of thinking. It has less to do with Palau, more to do with the U.S. and their protection or control of their people, their companies, and restricting access from other people. So my understanding is, for instance, in our digital residency program, we do have some U.S. citizens, more than we expected. But we think that these people are not just U.S. citizens, but they're also other countries like China. So they have dual citizenship. So even though they have digital residency, it's not to be used in the United States, it's to be used outside of the United States. And this is one of those things that's happening outside that's changing the picture of where we are, what we're dealing with. But the underlying objective of this program is still the same, and I think it's still valid. I think one of the recognition of Palau's program is Estonia, who we modeled our program after, recognizing our program as a competitor. So I think that it shows that we are doing things the right way. We're doing it in a safe way that doesn't hurt Palau. But things, we need to keep moving forward. This is not the kind of thing you just put it out there and then you stop. You have to keep, adding value. So long-winded answer to your question, but I think I've addressed the three questions I heard you say. One about the money from the program. It's basically funded by the money that we collect. To date, we've collected over $1 million over the past 2 years. And that's more than a lot of other revenue programs for the country. So this is very successful in that regard. Chinese are a big part of our digital residency. Even some of the ones that are described as Americans are actually Chinese. And then the immigration is a little bit off of the tourism track more than the digital residency track, but puts those two things together. So I hope I've addressed your questions. You can clarify if you want.
Ya, Ministra, kuati uligar sa igidiling ngora malngot ay gal mongot mokre la time masir obay multrar tial la ideal mir olbido sa dril la algir tiang ling ni mokte ka sa demostria residence tigil ngaray krela belaw masubil ngutegi de ditil ngara internet tem sa trader tirma ikel kuk sabil mongot mok dital morur ngir angam lamo to tril mena blur belaw the self identification ng wasi Republic of Palau identification card. Kasel mo adeng wasi nga ka other belaw. Maul maktira ko am na mo misay kay gidil bla mo delel mla mornya mla mo extend that mo to temer blur belaw. E sera mo lo southern ngil mera olbira ko lar sidel time wasi. Hindi ako the chance sa immigration trika bay telira di order outside blur belaw. Makora misay kay gidil wasi. Tiang katkora di open asim na mga ko gidil ko ba kasel mo mo alsel Maldolot ay ka ul mentelgi bil kuam lamo ngota osanga bil gidel tel program especially nga telgi bil kuam lamo mesin sa tiak lel kora esel di lu kwasen dia ka molau do tiang adi mongi lorur trengi ela ko 100,000 ne oseng orur tro obis segi da dia ka sar mengalil wasi tirgel partner bela undi kal tirgegi dia amrur tial edilo meskit seludol di waikal shipping registry Ako mes sa seguida dul mes ngin di alat yang abay na metmur belaul motmur al sila finance orur to tegi dul orur man ko di question na gid la segang pero ko atel gibin na ngala kasel niya neul dasul bil behind the tegi dul Digital Residency Act
Musulang ministerya to utakang len ngutial yung sang Vice Chairman tal committee Senator Aldabel wal man kay pong Senator Corte
Sila siya ti trial for a head pra discussion. Recall sira beginning when we first introduced the idea the digital residency and of course mla kami tira BIFM sa igidel time nga chairing mga kamle undertaker sa igidel role milsu bringi SLM original proposal was including mle while comprehensive will include the igidel concept a digital currency tel gora stable coin concept al lulbangel sa igidel al mle original bill mang katamil super ngi ko ramno talgi bal kaya understanding rin malumang no limited understanding rin sa igidel bu concept ra a stable coin mga ko ramno ada adu mas me a ulas wangil et yang semle original ulas ak mas one legal mechanism malumang wal legislation allowable attract revenue generating for the republic. Salman mo cost or other belong. You know, it's basically we're attracting tigil mo all customers that take the program will be outside people may buy into the program may pay a fee mera mo revenue mera kami. So seguida wal underlying reason kadam le so adal mas med explore tel al concept for the purpose of generating revenue mera kabalmin. At the same time with the limited knowledge regarding tialgo tokora digital coin eng kada koramle adu mas meda the tabri segidel aspect ra sel ne original legislation edi the take care tiagidel digital residency malomu legi the domes ringi the super cell cook other part ringi masing tiang makarang abol complement tagi del program digital residency program the continual developer ringi mo fully functional malung mo na esel aspect industrial sa edel utilize ringi generate revenue for the Republic of Palau. So based sa igide kada gilngel lot of these igide al guk masadar digital coin aspect emrong emlo sa edel pasat yang tegi del morungi al guk stable Palau stable coin awal tegi selmle part component selmle original legislation ng dul tabri la kada continual exploring logi tegi del guk pilot project del morungi maganda sa seguida ako rabla el tial ideal do tral developer ngil melmutre al time seguida so dal direct kora o giu tagi del hearing en so dal direct al kora council kora mlam skida kora quick al update dahil efforts up to now abay so dal kora amom dangiliak na sing ngari agora base ay galgo undertaking kamil na initiate sel pilot ra stable coin ngani agora amo mesek na sing kadamangarang guk developer sa igidel wal legal framework sa igidel aspect ra a stable coin and mo incorporate ngil mortial I know kadokora jumping between these two agenda dito kom da sa tool agenda stable coin and digital residency are very much related al toy and this igi del group legal mechanism ringi malaban legal framework ringi how far along are we in most of the group kut makli oder still mer olbira kalula mong most of ela olbira kalula group start lo mesa sa igid mang most of ela igal togol kora parallel going forward mang ang eliminate sa igid del coral kora kansun nek masi gomla ang lakra adori tirgamil al mo masadra atokol dirga kal makatmok lalul or seguida kora adiswad loker in question dire.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. And for the history that you provided, my recollection there were the three. You left out the offshore corporations. That was also a big part of the discussion, and we're still working on that. particular, very, similar in technology, but very different in terms of what they do and what the challenges are. So.
Chair, Minister, umno sang connected ay kaltablong hindi ikal di chair wa seme medolmol mga digital residency mo mereka de pura stable coin mo.
Yes.
Ako lang das sa to imak naman sa bedel mo ila do.
Yes, so I can give you an update on the stablecoin project so far, but you're correct. We separated the topics because it's too much to handle in one legislation with the speed that we were requesting their approval for the digital residency. Yeah, so I can brief you on stablecoin later.
Luwais Minister, way kay kita dilong Vice President tra Senate hindi daw kitala provide luwase in August na every year ang kiriwul report mo all bail mo agi direk lolingit mal sukuman sa elgo karinga either performance report mo lebang highlights ra initiatives sing ngam latmaut please ebong moturok kalmer kamam kitirek pang karinga understanding kamam ya ulang mo na Senator Cuarte.
Sulangye chair malulitasin sa minister role senator sa arta akora di follow up minister sel question akora comment vice president sa senate sel RPPL 11-14 na create a digital residency section 1022 title niya relation to immigration, foreign labor and foreign investment. Ako naman blakatak luwas tirkal adame so isra amo digital residency hindi ka special treatment or more beyond the regular immigration law of Lurbelo. Was a direct immigration law bela but they are discriminated because the digital residents make kira Lurbelo. Malsum sorry investor Lurbelo the multirak la yellow will lula FIC ma FIV met mura Lurbelo. Mende ko dilo sa makarang ikata change sa uspa regulation will change tial RPPL 11-14. Makulita si Elsabil clarifies.
Thank you, Senator. That's a very good question, and I'm sorry if I missed a point from the Vice President. So maybe background is we are working to revamp proposed legislation for the immigration where we feel it's not modern or it could be improved. So we are planning on submitting a revised legislation for your consideration on immigration. And you're correct that this digital residency program is a digital residency. It's basically meant to be a state ID, state-issued ID, a Republic of Palau issued ID, to allow people to conduct activities on the internet, crypto exchange, NFT, virtual stores. So it's something that's very common, and we discussed that when we first approved this bill. What it doesn't provide is residency. So one of the challenges we have with our law, and one of the reasons why we're trying to amend it, is we don't have a classification for residency. So we are trying to put that in there. But this digital residency law is not intended to go in that direction. It just provides an immigration privilege as a visitor to be here longer so that they can do TikTok and these other digital nomad activities. They're not conducting business in Palau. They're doing their cyber activities from Palau. So it's a distinction, and I think something that may have to be addressed in the future. Maybe your new committee that deals with cyberspace can look into this a little bit more. But we were very clear in the legislation, as you can see, that it is not intended to provide immigration privileges for a resident. So you cannot come here and show your digital residency card and say, I can live in Palau and work and conduct business. Those are all separate things. It also specifically prohibits the opening of a bank account, which is something that the banks were very concerned with. So that is that language is in here to protect our local banks. Although through the digital residency program, one of the other activities that's envisaged is the opening of a digital bank. And that we expect will be another initiative that will be conducted separately with its own legislation and its own regulatory environment. So, I mean, we use the word residency, but the digital residency doesn't afford any of these members with residency or any of the other opportunities that are allowed for people who must follow immigration procedures for opening a business here or coming here to work. I hope that's clear.
No, it's the issue of residency, digital or immigration is very clear to me. I'm not confused about it. When I voted for this legislation, it was explained and I understood it and actually read it. And the reason why I support it is because the intention was for people to conduct their business using this residency registration into Palau program, but they can be anywhere. And it was very clear that they would not have any privilege coming through our borders as any other tourist. And it was very clear that they wouldn't have any other special privilege through our business systems. And so that's why it was, to me, it was yes, another business venture that we can do, can go for safely. Now we read the newspaper. There are people basically residing in Palau. One is U.S. citizen. So now it's hard now for me to figure out how other people like FAS people, U.S. citizens, who can actually stay here because of that immigration status, how do we now deal with that? So I'm just, it's my debate was how can the Ministry of Finance make regulation that supersedes the intention of the law? That was my issue.
Thank you, Senator, and I agree with you, and that's why I mentioned that we are planning to propose some improvements to the immigration law. There are those crossover areas that does cause us some problem, and some unresolved areas when it comes to like the FAS citizens that are residing here. So while they may have residency under our digital residency program, or membership in our digital residency program, they are not or shouldn't be here or allowed to be here based on that over what's allowed for in immigration regulation. So I agree, and there's some work to be done, but there is overlap that may be causing some confusion. That as a digital residency, you don't have currently, before the new regulations take place, you don't have ability to stay here longer than 90 days as a visitor, unless you're an American or unless you're a FAS citizen. Those are outside of digital residency, and there is an overlap here, but their digital residency ID shouldn't afford them longer than 90 days until the new regulation is approved, and they can stay up to 210 days.
Ulang lang muna senators sa ngapam.
Sula chair, sula minister. Akma remember tell debate tagi dam lewan ra hulge ringil. Il very question like direng maul momlo gimlo pula lawyer kama mal clarifying. Mela sel extension al moru ringi amal specifically kautel malgoy kasi como ba ultra ringil mortigal adal wal entice til me. So you're discriminating the very other people that are coming here. Melo como special treatment, which isn't. Sel mo ngi tella ang totally ulum sakal lawyer kasi tiam le clear niya attorney general adang waigel bebir o morul di dia ka kakangera attorney general ringi. Did she sign off on it? Because I got regulations, agar mo attorney general clear, ang mura presidential sign. And I want to see the recommendation attorney general. Let's say mo gir nga igalger she's not even aware of the work that you guys are doing. That's her statement. Meeting.
Yeah, so the regulations that we are putting out forward are following the APA process. So whether or not she has any comment on it or wasn't specifically asked, AG, can you please give us your opinion on this? It goes through the APA process, so there is no hidden agenda here or hidden documents that are not being put out to public, including to the OEK. So, I mean, these are things that we can discuss as, I mean, I remember we were in this room and I was on that side of the table and it came up, you were sitting on this end, and we had a little bit of a discussion on this particular immigration privilege. But as you know, we don't have very many tourists right now. We're struggling to see tourism come back to the country. So we're talking about economic diversification. This is one way to diversify the tourism market. If you don't want to do it as part of the digital residency, I'm not sure if Minister Matul would have thought to put this out there as part of the tourism proposal. But it's something that we noticed. Actually, the president noticed when he went to Kauai and he saw somebody renting a house for $18,000 a month, and he thought that would be a good program to start in Palau. So we put the regulation forward to try to take more advantage of what we already had, which was the digital resident. Not to give them residency, not to allow them to stay in Palau, to open a bank account or conduct business, but to stay longer in Palau. And obviously they would spend more money and benefit our tourism market. I don't think it's going to be a lot of digital residents, but it's another way we can make additional money out of this program.
Mr. Akmal, I couldn't agree with you more. Rational, real more. A question kasi was a process, APA process. Hindi AG official clearing in mako tunggung muro officer president. What I want to know ako sa aging mle clear tiyang electrical lawyers okmog tumle ta over tiyalla o message tiyal gagi the regulation ng murungi, they would have advised you to kind of written kung usil talagi wal ngot atetelin then what is currently written akula mesa tal regulation o message tiyalla ang moral subel nga potential wala problem ring. I want to move on from that subject. Sila dire kala discuss tiyang amayong kada dilo kasi maybe la $150 $100 merbela $50 amora gagi dele crypto club elak tiya $248 kita dir amul mala $100. Who's getting the other? Tiya abay di mong longi kita malmol mala $100 dado de kosit tira mala na maklolo do. Ino sila lologor gitu kasi please more other mule tangar millions sun mangirigi. Ora labay mlege rulak kyap pra ko kasi tela girel sa elmalaya share tiragal ko pay le mokte gargida ulmes ngil way the followers el tarablu kasi eventually swadal digidel mamru ngi mga klolo do ngi. I don't know, maybe lang niya explanation or tirigel adal ko runner tel third party runner ngi kasi amal expensive mga rangklen un magim at charging in way hindi tila dire rulin model attractive because it's expensive. So Akmal, I know it's not easy, better avenue do missing kasi musil ma revenue given sera the sisabil mal ora expect kasi gire we need to have more revenue maul makadamran le ora trial meter sell deadline and we're hoping that so maybe lagi del modo do urtirel wal ora obang Palau Digital Residency kita kura gire dollar ngi tira maklo dollar ngi akura. If you have a better explanation, I'll go away sa minister. Sulak.
Sulang minister sa igit el tiala ama ikal lamesois magi kora ulames aktire kal kora lubanggel na vice chairman ngam le chairman tal committee milay gel ko information kim kora amlo sa pamamal ko comments ako ngungil kamlain sir ay kay gital tablol question regarding tal to raw daw matial to ko ray kay gital immigration sa ikit yaon ay gel ko mal issues aldo sa dal ngiling sa ikit diak really assure mo yang confusion maluban tila way ka lutu senator Quarte ala amal blakatakal dimla ka privilege al being pointed out through ala anti ol ko mga ringa regulation al supporters ay hindi rekan malungil o mo ay singil kirel tiam bolla ka say gid al gora confusement ar ka mamal ko ngara ol bi real time o sisil time del bla bola ka tiele Vice President Mariur.
Dia kaya umasa kita melamadung minister meng umasa kalau amlang ma pointer nga madung lo sa tialla. Dia kal regulation mandira kal dia kal spell ngoti tialla. Allah adilla. Mugde wais lo sa ko madung lo sa tial marur nga dia kal lo tiak tialla. Sumari ang ngot atletan magungi kon mamlo dalla anding sayid selwal gora especially nga kamal upset el girel legal mna truller ser ongkot el may amal nangi maigal marure lang ela ko mamas aigal wal gora bekel marul wal gora mo iltiang inya dimla kal ngartal mlegot lo mosad lo asitegi da ulmo tumur talla di malaringi adra ngod blul ngarai kel bela ela tirgal adra mlamer bela tirai lang adri kam mlamer betoka question setil was tirkang tirka resident servelat yang ra gel other benefits al tira giril mai makumba sa sel lo truller outside amne giril ngania condition seringi lo ngela sa tiagi mundi tiagi dagi mari ditam la ela ko kumitela sa temla mo ko tral entay sa til merbela hindi ko sa se kuduguk mat sense gidal chance alla dakadil regulation akti duli sa gidileng kita mrulala gidal tiraklala malsum ng diara la ingire del ko sigaro le lo se kadam kra amen dengil mosbel disel ko di se enens med ngwa regulation ko mo tegi dal tang nasbel moror ako mas na dia kalungil tretan dia kalungil tretan met tel volum base mosiga ngo role le bol se pedal no role bangel olbil asum somil mo lo dengil la katin mo regulation ko mo lo dengil ay gel di lo kwartel wase tiagi man dia kal se regulation mo di.
Thank you, Senator. I don't necessarily agree with you. I think this country is a tourism economy, and we want everybody to come, whether you're a digital residency or not. And a digital resident can come. I mean, they offer a different type of tourism here. So if we want more tourists, we should try to take advantage of it. I understand your point where you're stretching this to say that we've changed the law with the regulation, but I see immigration policy, tourism policy, and digital residency separately. I don't try to put them together. So yeah, I take your point. It can be looked at as a way to have circumvented the law or changed the law. But we did not offer people residency. We just gave them a longer time to stay in Palau as a tourist. So that's was our intention. We didn't try to change the law. That wasn't the purpose of the regulation proposal.
Yam sula minister ang nasa mal di last na akal mo Marcel Uler Romi ngom dilo kasi dia kada chance sa lula immigration tiragang abol mo tar presidency te dinga ray krel bela mru ray lorul al sumtmet mru bela tol tirak la lul bela masayid ya igeyam lo traul mer olbila ulma olbila am nasbel ko ngertia مكمسك دول تيرك تلا الوكل ويسيجي دول تيركلي سيجي دل تقول أبي ملتراني مالسكو منقوك ما منقط إن كده دلقوك ما قادين لا سمك دم كراد ولا دول تيار تلاتة تدولي سيجي ده تيرم سو
Sulang minister ma kung semlang mo plaktak la segi del part malsuko mangaringi any tentative amendment malubang supporting document se endire kal malso mamles logi segi to logi tialla en wase August na every year en ngaringa hearing kami provide ay gital initiative sa malubang en gora a program sel being initiated within al sel tagi la en so adal mom ngayon ngok malolngit mo ta folklore mo te tungwa ulaw ngun sang a senator tabulwan
ari saule chera Mr. Akmal mga sulem rati alle tam sa de tiang tagil digital residency akmadem lamar tiang mal mengal kaun malung ila intention kau mamukti kau di tiang tinga ka sudah ulet tiang akmal lania se bakran artial tiagi del kombalim la otoklit kita wa ba ado gi ulet tiang mo koram titu kertial lol deget ketrika gi lol tar tiang ai kel belau segi de minister awa la tirikil mo duli lo sen segi tial namo abang laigal dosa del tokoi la ona la dururi sigi da ul makam ne sewa sikado kutunga ko bali mel partner gi de ma nya ogi madal melod akmu ngarang klen kita imol belu logi ulel tial sigi da kumda sen tial kalungi la do lo aise ere kau tial lak mu gal tien lo sengarnya arwol di segi da tara ul mo kadam le ulel tiang akmal dimlakal nga ka dimlak du tial to ko la gin tretele la urol mla olel le tretele la it was just too good to be true yang ari agem le ko obsengi mo akmal duni tangi so sing laka ko to di mo mo du ka mase digaw du de do korang o imral dia ka du de din direk lang ari ang tretele o morger mak palol ni tangi suro kala se kame sa tiak madengel ka ang ngila mokter ka dia kame sa som sa belal tu ak mo sa igel trentingil tiam la ka do rol ngatiang ekitial ngartial imol blue edim ar oldeget segir el trigel adalungura artial tir ultra beral logi mutat ala ultra makatingi kita amasari siya di soal ngita yung sulki resula
Kaya kamenter ka minister hatang alsugum kapon.
Maybe just one comment on I think sometimes when we're in a desperate state like we were during COVID, where we are now is different from where we were then, and there were some people maybe overly optimistic and oversold the initiative. I remember when we did the shipping registry, same thing. People just start throwing out big numbers, whether or not that was really something reasonable to expect. And I think there was a little bit of that in this one, but there was a big potential at the time, and that's why we rushed it. But things changed right after that, and we didn't get as much. I still think it's a good program, and it's something that keeps Palau ahead of many other countries, and we should try to use that advantage of being small and able to move quickly as one of the ways that we try to survive as a nation independently for our people. So, and we have to be a little bold sometimes, but reasonable in our expectations and not mislead the public and be overly optimistic about the potential of things like this. Especially when we do something new, we really don't know what the outcome will be. It's just nobody can predict the future. So, yeah, I take your point, but I think this is a good program for Palau, and we've made it work. Lastly, just as I've been talking, I'm thinking about what Senator said earlier. The intention of this program is for this to be localized. I don't think we're ready right now. The vendors that are needed at the cost structure that we're faced with right now, we still need to rely on our partner. I think there are alternative partners, but we still need to make sure that this program is really set before we start looking to change anything. We are building the office. In the beginning it was just our immigration officer. Then we added Director Anson. Now we added Stephen to our team. So I think in the future we can look at it, but not anytime soon. But it'll be run by Palau government.
Sulang itong olgyong lumsang Senator Rutim olpol mo rin kay elapor Senator Talams.
Aling sulang Chairman Tasil sa Minister. Minister, tiyak question kita Digital Residency. Number one, still tiyak ang Ministry of Finance, and then two names come up as you mentioned. Nga Mr. Bril Wang, hindi ang ngora Digital Residency Office. Number two, Mr. J. Anson. Okay. Oh, can you use the mic?
Yes, Bro Wang represents our partner, the one who does most of the work, but everything that he does comes to us and we approve.
Ilang Mr. Brilwang ang resident partner, mang resident Trevela, where is his office nga sa Ministry
They're
of Finance?
based out of Palo Alto,
Okay.
California.
Okay. Asel Digital Residency, who is your target audience at Digital Residency? U.S. citizens and direct?
Our primary target audience is, I would say, Asian, non-U.S. We did not expect to have very many U.S. citizens at all. But I think it's because a lot of them are actually Chinese citizens who also have American citizenship. So if you want to say broadly, what is our target audience? It's everyone. Everyone outside of Palau, because Palauans cannot participate in this program.
Are other Vela that will participate? Yeah? Can a Palauan citizen apply for digital resident?
No, not in this, of the version of the law we passed.
But do you think it would be a good amendment to have Palauan citizens apply and have a digital, so they
No.
can avail for the same? What would be the downfall, or what would be the obstacle to that, or what would be the detriment to the Palauan citizens?
Well, this is a government-issued ID to operate in cyberspace, which is useful to some people who operate mostly in cyberspace. A digital resident needs that usually because of whatever country rules he's dealing with. Palauans are the ones issuing the state ID. We already have state ID, so it doesn't really make sense to open this to locals because of that reason, to citizens.
So basically, this is for those countries that do not comply with U.S. rules or something like that.
I wouldn't say U.S. in particular, but those people who need a state ID that find it more useful to use another country's ID to operate on the internet.
For example, then what countries would find it useful to use other addresses besides their own?
Well, basically, the ones that we identified in the beginning were the Chinese. And it's because of their rules in their country.
So on the Chinese and Taiwan Chinese and PRC Chinese.
PRC Chinese.
Okay, you mentioned Mr. J. Anson, our staff for immigration, fintech, partners. Are they getting paid by your ministry to do their jobs?
Yes.
Of the Ministry of Finance?
Yes.
What's
Out of our budget.
The source of funding from the Digital Residency or just from your general?
Also through the other offices, immigration and our IT division, ISS.
Sure.
Senator Talams.
Sula Chairman, Malungil Tiliadsid sa Minister. Di sa loget na sa tutela other outside am la apply mo the digital residency le alir etela oblam approval ti. Sebem lo wise.
Our current report to me from the director is we've reached 9,000 digital residents.
This year.
Yeah, I mean last week.
Ela selom issue agel digital residency. Sabi ela adan mara 5-year residency maluben 10 years
Yes.
residency. Again, sabi provide again the information. And mera Senate lugu sa reporting every August. They go provide again the update to tell. Project
Yes.
will be. Mal sabi lo ay sa digital adan SL apply rela 23. Material plan approval tit. Material blame rejected tit. Direct mo ay sa tuntela ludo tam la so ispa.
Yeah, thank you. And just for information, I believe it was 7 that have been declined.
Direct sa logere minister. Agel baby ra challenges. Sabi will face the project. Elasel cryptic labs. Seguir a service provider the digital residency program. But mutir gigil ada model sabi provide seguir the service. A government tervelam prepare and more protect the identity tirgagi the visitor residency. Lama visitor residency tirvelau. Al sum segi the cryptic labs. Se service provider the tagi the.
Yes.
O como unfortunately some models provide the same service. Some models provide the same service. The government tirvelau ready. Prepared and more protect the identity tirgagi the. Ladan lama residency tir.
I mean, we have systems in place to protect the system from abuse, so that nobody is presenting themselves as a digital resident that isn't a digital resident, or using the residency with the wrong information that we have already screened. Because the whole idea is that this is a state-issued ID. They are who they say they are. So I think your question is more about this company, our partner company, misusing the information that they have about our system and the data itself. I'm very comfortable with the arrangement, because we do have an MOU with this company, and this is a U.S.-based company. So U.S. laws would allow us to go after these people for any type of fraud or misuse or abuse of the system that we entrusted them to assist us with. And does that answer your question?
Vice Minister, actually, Mr. report is Taiwan review report. Sa Taiwan review report tamal got na siya. Girela government terbelau matiagi the cryptic lab el mo prepare the mo respond el girela gagi the crisis. Al skum mo de actually provide us. It nothing necessary money contingency plans to be formulated and protocols to be set for both parties to be ready to face this risk. At sumang mo, o that's we provide I give the service, I give the programming girela government belan mo, or prepare the protect I give the interested to get the digital residency. I will message I give the report the minister. But to I get question ma challenges in mention, I get it I give the program digital residency ma direct sales stablecoin. Adoran mong amuring question nga girela stablecoin. Direct base I give the report that below the sale, the Taiwan report.
Thank you, Senator. And I think it's an obvious question, and I'm very happy that our Taiwan partners are able to be very open with what they think. But this is a standard risk for anybody who faces this type of situation, that your partner fails. What are you going to do about that? So, I mean, Cryptic Labs is a company. It has several people working for it, but it's not the only company can do this. And we've, in securing Cryptic Labs as a partner, we had many other interested parties to help us with this, and we've spoken to some. So, ideally, the solution is to take control, full control, and operate this thing by ourselves. Like I said, we're not ready to do that right away, but we don't talk about it openly, but we do have contingency plans, backup solutions in case the inevitable happens, where these people, for their fault of their own or not their fault, are unable to continue to provide the service. So I think that's the point that the Taiwanese economists were making, that you can say that for anything. What if PNCC, what if PUC fails? What are we going to do about power? So I mean, it's something that we always have to plan on as proper management for business recovery or disaster recovery. But I think we have a lot of agreements in place to protect us to begin with, and that's the first thing that we should do, and then make sure that we have the data, which we do, and it's protected. And if we have to recover, where can we recover with a different partner? So we've gone down these discussions and have some ideas on what we would do. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sula Minister, mal interesting sele. Taiwan Economic Reporter girele teatragel Stablecoin atragel men industry tira brigamendel. Mending gire del mutul vergik seguido.
Senator Mangsaw.
Sula chair malungin itasil se minister. Kumdaswa kaliga nga ka senator telam sa mal concern sel kuk partra tel program el KYC. Know your client, know your customer. Sing malwang rakli si elm. Kumdaswa bol sa edel mutel gora delve into that telwasin. Are we prepared or di point terswakal el kuk di mo driver ngir el ang ministera di for your information President Senate President Paules wal miktabi tarabi esel kami tiringi dum kadong ringi el altameng CIP Cyber Security and Technology el mo mokte karingia mo sabi edel ngaringa regular al adu lo wabang kabiu el girel away kay gidel tokoy lekada na tigiringi luasing with the lacra akora obviously in place el kuk represent gel interest tra Senate and dia ka regular communication ng kami mer kamamal el prevent away kay gidel la since November umot diesel babil ngem lo lingit tra kamamra sit down el mer el al dir ka akora klaw matinger kamamal girel mong ul makadadong okre el al kora o sikrolel wasen makaradong itugay ka minister ng kumdaseng important el girel nga enabling legislation nga girel nga la el wal kabera away kay gidel tokoy tokora cyber security, tokora digital, tokora cyberspace, tokora technology. Kumdas with the absence of that, sel doral mo katukukti adresa digital, momre ke kukme kuk adresa stable, kuk adresa kumdas na mo gire the rule imol comprehensive la al address tiang le tiang ngar al ser el ang kadak mula siyang future, the future is now. El al time ang gire del adresa away kay gidel tokoy. Makmalore nga sulem olingit telwasi el ang bolu ulela regular consultation ra office na kamiw sila appropriate office maolbil bol sab edal mal seriously the tackle this issue el prevent ra waigel blol dolokoy we're putting the cart before the horse kadung nga kare tal moram dalaos makmalo nga sulem mal excited dalo ay sirgal was nga esel committee will create nga President Paules el mal mo tackle this very issue ra el almaral mo sula minister.
Thank you, Senator, and it's very progressive, I think, the Senate and the Senate President putting this committee forward. I think it's really important for us. We are going further into this this space now. We're getting a second fiber optic cable, and we're starting to see security issues in the region to include cyber attacks. And our services are more and more being offered online. So it's not a choice. It's a necessity. Unfortunately, all of us are learning, and it's a steep learning curve. So it's good that we try to coordinate and cooperate and learning together, which takes time. We have several resources that we are trying to bring to Palau, so it'd also be good to share that with you as much as we can, so we're all on the same page and we can move quicker. As this type of technology is a fast-moving one, and islands and fast-moving don't normally go together. So communication is key. We need to work closely together to make sure that we do the right thing and we get the most out of this for our people. Thank you.
Senator Sungino.
Sulat chere malungil itasil se minister. Ani ako ra 3 point sokal loge. Lohita Senator Rudim am lohita sel point kumasindia kal sabe del participate tial Digital Residency program. Makari kak masemong egel transaction ra business remoter se girir other outside del girir la benefits tiregi dala kat elle del murse
gida owner telvelu ngarak ngorade gisak musum of course ito law do the mira balum di sel opportunity gidel ko transact tral sel digital realm laban treat tirala. Why are we stopping us from being there? Tiagala alubeng rule di kalgidel wise.
Thank you, Senator. It's expanded question for you. I would say and then suggest some way forward. This program is very specific on expanding the people that we deal with and as a revenue base, expanding our revenue base, not just to tourists, which are usually from Asia, but to the whole world. So the whole population of the world, except Palauans, can be digital resident. We have a program that we're about to start with the World Bank to create digital ID for Palau. And these would be for the Palauans. All we need to do is to take that digital ID and offer that to people like Binance or Coinbase for them to accept our ID as authentication that we can trade on their platform, which is how it works for digital residency. Being a Palau digital resident doesn't automatically give you access until we ask Binance or Coinbase to give us access, recognize our ID, and they have to make sure that it's valid. So it's something that we can do for our people in the future, but the way the program is set up, it's difficult with the restrictions like residency that senators are concerned about the regulations and changing the purpose of the law. So it's really targeting foreigners, not citizens. But giving citizens access to this, yeah, we can help to make it more accessible, and we should. But we have to do it through a separate program, and we have one solution that might work, sponsored by the World Bank.
Ngungil mo mention because you're thinking about it nga kakuk timo as a Palauan citizen akmo under kumasi. Malungil ate alert tial digital world maliliwek kana nga kalakat legal mas ngi. What's in it for me? Rakuk business sense. So bringing in money I understand, but getting on the platform to agila del direct lam das mo. Gila ngani opportunity tira other bela more sel say del platform.
Yes, thank you. And we are trying to build the community here to be able to do more online. It takes a lot of education and a lot of ability to do it from Palau. It's not easy because, some other people block us from participating, like with Stablecoin. So we are trying to do this. We have, and maybe I can offer all of you to join that group, what we're calling a fintech community. And it's meant to put everybody together, whoever wants to be part of this, locals or outsiders, and just work together, learn together, put things together. We have opportunity across the street, the Taiwan Digital Opportunity Center, which offers a lot of training to anybody interested. That is also available online. So these kind of opportunities where we can enhance ourselves, learn how other people in Palau are accessing crypto trading and participating in the cryptocurrency. There are already people doing that here, but you need to work together and teach each other and help each other so that you can do that. And the government, I think, should help in making opportunities more for Palauans. But how you do that and whether it belongs in this law is what we need to work out.
Sulok. Number 2, Vice President tamno tatsingi diluk masangari 9,000 registered digital residents. Ngari ngar belaw. Ngari am namir belaw. Yes, so a tourist ngar belang 30 days sa maximum ring ngar belaw.
90 days.
A tourist. A digital residency min still 90 days.
Until that regulation passes, or if it passes, they can stay up to 210 days.
On nindira kalpas sa regulation.
Yeah, it's still pending signature.
Okay. Sige dam nesokal mo mga lilo ng didori days tirkam lamo 90 days mo kadam lamo malala realize.
Well, the immigration policy says everybody who comes here gets 30 days as a visitor. And then you have an opportunity to renew twice.
Twice.
So it's 90 days maximum
90 days
that you can stay as a visitor, and then you have to leave.
So tirgal ngar belaw sabi iltra katir mundir ka kata malung abis driver's license tir malubel open account tir or if they
I know they cannot open their account because they will ask you for your labor permit or your foreign investment certificate before they will issue a bank account. For license, I think it's the same, that the Ministry of Justice should be asking you that.
ngar alla mo kadokora. Ela ka dili atol steep learning curve. You know, kada madangyak mo kadamra los piao. Di kita mal mo korgi kung mumela kada tamalala because ang skill daw. Sila lukon nga tabalwal lang agi dire kal ngararal bulu om tamli kada matoko roku ilang wangi roku lo ngara alertiang ma mamrula so of course kada mra lo spia daw every opportunity to earn and di me la kada tamalala because ang daw sila ko point lukon nga tabalwal dire kal mal swakal stress ringim alang nga la algi bay mga tmok ringim mo ay simatakat makli la kada for the faces sulang
Sulang minister eruklo kama teto makati poto osmerita digital residency kaya ko mo mo Stablecoin di wala mo mo sa te alla president trasenet mo osmeri sa igiti ko mo digital Stablecoin
malungil odo songul merga Minister of Finance Senator sa kumeser tiala aldirireling kita milsa power kan momrula tokl mengakpai ulit tergi deng lagi redel mo review tella lengkang superman ra self tel finance ngka sep el raise afi sep el wasen angu tel residency card et adiak edirekal sep el wasen ngaral country gi asep el model alayable. Ilan ditan ngartiala Korea ma, North Korea ma, Iran. Awulak mention tiang kita madangil wasing Digital Residential Digital Residency. Asera dong do even a president tane mention el target adras China. Ak pagi kernya dora kita tel momrur obisra ram FSM FAS el mokang terra blura China makpagik la bodangara andera pressure blura China amerigel el dulu asem blacklist ra China edlusra amagit diwaya kada dependra blura China tourism mang akti mention tiang legu daswe chairman magidel senator sengiret ngutialla almeri biurngi ewa ngaraigel autoritil dulutan mai el mongre lel olbil baigel autoritil gida amsang mong ngolap lek pagikla legel klisi el ngal asel tianga a lot of power mal tol klisi adi gulgoringi ako change sa administration ra next year maluub etta malumol where we going a direction ra blur belang maral girel ker menghita dilgi del tomelit malube kada ngariak klung yolel ding gire del mogorgik aktire glor ngit tergid mal sum kada mo orat tegi del Stablecoin el momrural ulak agul ngit tergid madrut mal mo ngi review le ngat talom sertiange ngare gel bebi raklisi el gumdashen dim lakal gire del ding malsa ko igel modi side lo sengaral bulua abodot tobdi mangral bulua bodok ngeringi mga segida di gulgo endi minister kamadangay concern our senators mga agu meserngi ngay direkal bomo meserngi waseng ra we need to amend malakaboda amend malubul tomrilla tomal lalul belaw for example wa immigration law semal cloud to tele kamadangay lo sekada kekarel bulu mang di kekarel toy the change ngira immigration law and sebel tomalit aktiol ngi tergau mabom gergik lebom mutabay gel plan do senator sul giret tegi del residency act eda kaing sel sumaklil for the benefit rather than outsiders way gegi del baby ralla kada sira dokotan malitiang ngakatialo misringing wayal kura direkal spedon wable marseneto len waya di blaka bodong review tella e gongeringi el ago misringing giril ngaringi ang ikil ngara sel el gire del lolbira lula mutel mal klisi e dia din ngail sa minister lola bra sel finance len modi ka ungil understanding rigi den ya implement alming modi kan spedel el kul mongarangi di nakamal mrenga sulem raguk tiagidel digital residency ngungil mong lamop to ka do dal dangaringi di botagargik lom siu rablur belal girela future gid lakbotum isaksik te bolu ula lita tuda is a nation sulang e minister
sulang e president trasenet ma lawai se e ministering waya kay gidel tu president trasenet logi tay gidel lo sisiu la al RPPL 11-14 tay digital residency yang malplak takal nga alsel maseng every August kamel may report ya kiba ay kel ku korabe as program sa highlight tel girel tay gitel mongogi usay gitel ala president trasenet tay malolngit terkaw maratam po kat makli away el tentative el summary raiger roku il program sa initiative sa lat mo al seltiang e motor clean mer olbil mo ka mo tel giben ngaring amor el klaw mo ngay kamamra al sel magibuk pa mo ngay kel program so ogi usay gid kadumupon mo na Stablecoin mga kada understand dalwa sa Ministry of Finance already la-launch na program na Stablecoin magi mo maskate alam mo kamo give us a highlight logi way kay gid ko kora briefings la program ngaring el all time mo ay sa mo ko kirel ker apol mo re kasi gid el narrative discussion raw ko pol tumubol mo na ar senators mo na ager mangir minister ulaw legoro.
Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the stablecoin project, I know there's recently some press, front page news on the stablecoin. I think we need to be very clear when we talk to people not to mislead them on what's going on. The stablecoin project is a solution to help people access finance. So it's a financial inclusion program as well as a financial access program. And it's made to improve the ability of Palauans to pay. The paying can be two ways, one inside Palau and the other one can be from Palau outside and from outside to Palau, which is referred to as cross-border payment. So this is a payment solution that we are pioneering. And there are other payment systems that most people are familiar with, like PayPal, sponsored by that company, or even other companies like Venmo or Zelle, which are typically working closely with banks. So this is what we are trying to pioneer. And it is a pilot project. We think it has a lot of potential to improve Palauans' lives. And we have a very strong partner that we are working with to help us with the solution. And after a lot of work and research and discussions with many different parties, including the IMF and Taiwan economists, we decided to move forward with the initial pilot launch. The initial pilot launch is 200 government employees who volunteered to participate in this pilot project to test the ability of this stablecoin to be used in Palau mainly to purchase things. So we identified 200 volunteers. Not all of them have actually participated in the exchange yet, but we are doing it in batches, so it's not going to be 200 at one time. We worked with several interested retailers who agreed to work on the pilot with us, and we receive money from Ripple to put into their wallets that we established on their phones, and they have been spending at these establishments. One of the other features that the wallet has that some people have used that is not expected to be part of the project is people can transfer money between each other. If you have a wallet and the other guy has a wallet, you can move some of your money to their wallet. It's something that's typical but not expected as part of this project, and people have been doing that. So it goes to show that we need to do a pilot to find out what people will be doing once we give them this opportunity. But generally, we know that it's been very successful in terms of going to the store. Like I went to the restaurant today, I ordered lunch for myself, and then when I went to pay, I used my stablecoin and paid for it. So we know it works. And so far, no really issues have come up because of this. But we're still in the pilot phase, and we expect this to end around September, end of September, where we will close the pilot, and then we will start gathering information from all the participants and find out how well does this work? Does it work enough for what we think will provide Palauans with a solution? So far, it works actually quite well. The things that we expect are speed and low cost, and those two things are really working well. The current estimated cost of transfer is 0.002 cents, so it's very, very cheap. And if we go down the road and we open this up to cross-border, at certain banks you send money and you're paying like $40 transfer fee. So you compare that to 0.002 cents to send money abroad to people in the States or wherever. I think this is a big advantage for our people if this can work. Plus, being able to transfer money even between ourselves. Let's say we go to custom, and instead of bringing cash, going to ATM, putting an envelope, just transfer money to whoever sets up as a store to collect money. Or if you're in Honto and you don't have money, you just call your neighbor. He'll loan you money just by transferring on your wallet, on your phone. I mean, these are, I think, really big opportunities that will really help our people. And those people who are not always able to help themselves to drive to an ATM and spend their gas money and just to get a couple dollars. So we think it's moving in the right direction. We don't think we're ready to do a live project yet. So most likely we will do at least one more pilot project. Once we have some of the parts figured out a little bit better and how people use this in Palau, then we would be ready to submit a proposal for Congress to support to establish this. Like I said, this is a payment system, just like if you were to open up your own debit card system or other payment system. And I do have a law that I'm trying to get finalized to submit. It's a law that's based on a model law from the World Bank. And this is, this problem of payments is not just unique to Palau. It's common to most Pacific Island countries and a lot of third world countries. So this solution is something that's made possible by technology. And it's another way that we can stay ahead, be a leader in this space. So again, the pilot has worked pretty well. It's nowhere near becoming live. So we will probably do one or two more pilots just to test the other parts that are not involved in the initial pilot. And then if things work well enough, then we will likely submit something like a legislation to support this for your consideration. So I welcome any questions.
Kamsulang ra brief highlight ra tretel tial stablecoin nga olgo ngun sa nga Vice President tertel chair tial vice chair tial committee.
Sila chair ng skaka Honorable Bride. Minister ak mga sulem mem apiram dala committee ko paskida update ti agil stable ga ako dasa ti tara subject tara discussion ko mamra Senate. So mo understand na yel gukwal update ma progress ay gagidal effort target manik masing bato ka albang aliun di ay gagida bebira ay gel effort sa kami sa dal mo madingi klase ka gire ligaringi ngara asabela kongres lu olo lo kami make sure kada create silwal gora legal pathway sa edel log yung mo smooth ay gagida rogul effort matmokal mo o surba yel guk portion ng community gidel sa benefit ay gidel services akti sokal ko di mutual di re-emphasize ra tay gidel guk aspect ra digital coin ma tel in our case tel Palau Stablecoin akum dasung cloud to tel katukuk ko di related man ay gel Bloom bebir passion blood bornging kita kadome sa tamla mustat al do away without carrying cash laban mo marastuang malubit mo transact ay business atir mang mostra bebir blood bong even mabrigan madbom tediregal anigel maklol retailers adabo tediregal di require hidros pe arwa ay gamang walgora tial los pe akyas for transaction na walgora amlam o maral mo outdated el mode of payment mang sige daw na sendiri kal tara agisal forward looking ra ko commune o message sige na siya adabela doral going forward and with rapidly changing ara telela conduct business logi wa ay gagid digital technology ako na sing ungil ako to prepare malo the position of blue vela sa PL guk so is para gagid time ra modernization to ra transaction o sa digital form di abay gulngit ringak mula sa bol sa PL officer kaw officer presidente po kora leading update malubelim engage or albira kalula especially tigal nga policy making authority bol sa bil one kadbor OCCU level na understanding ma OCCU level ra direction el doran girel kung nasa sel bol laging understanding ra gidel nga ra policy making sige nang mo create ay gidel confusion en mo o sa edel guk mo kosa awal ko ra delay malubang wal ko ra ay gidel wal ko ra mo mekyodi malubang mo o to torbangi ay gidel effort baby atam kadame sungil effort madingek na sing ay gel baby example ra lam mention tial nasa kada mo si edel di transfer although from one person to another a lot more quickly and tila tramal mo benefit ada bela makumda sa igal guksuga karita ada bela so all and then get together and mudlaw do asabel sa igidel guk tiregal mo complement sa igidel teled makalture gid al gumdasen sa edel the reformer system mo complement ay gid gumdasen mal moklal nga swil mara other belaw adi isokal ko adi diulil ko adi recommend part of recommendation tagi del pilot malaban study phase payol ngitek na sa rather than just using a sample adal what part tagi del pilot direkam kat makliya ko ra survey do a survey to go along with this almora other belaw maybe at the most nga significant amount of the plant people and mo o o walo all tao the swil gil tial program bal sa pela gigil resulta survey mo support ay gil wal al conclusion ng kamik na sing ngaral direksyon na daw yakal na daw beduling el sumar kom sa il masak na sa taptol ada belawa soril masatyal mo happen and that will go a long way to help us al the legislator policy al mosab el ruling mo toy mo al magat mo sige ako koradi gisal kundas yung ngara ngil parta strategy gidel al tralya survey those sige dul the swira maturity ada bela al no dubar telo das mo tokoy diso al mutel al matar miura ngil lureriu dik malon gitik na se also will continue engage on a regular basis labangela albira kalula especially senate nya mraklo interest ka mam mom dinget masay ay gal no rulong kodam rulo tirak lala en raigel guk ngal sa selala al sebe del guk improve mo complement ay gay gidel efforts sula
al ngania kamen terkau girel say ministerio tingil pomre ke lupong president trasenet.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, and thank you for that suggestion. I'll recommend it to our committee that's working to look at doing a survey. I mean, we are doing a survey with the people who are participating with the pilot, and then maybe we can do a survey based on those results to a wider audience, maybe all of government, for better information to inform us on what direction people might be interested in going with this.
Minister ng diaksal mo kura di tela ikal tukura udo do mangara nga ka diaksal mo do ringi mundi din sokal kura litel tukul waseng tiangul de swelt alba mo spera kabelment el mruringi take the Stablecoin el plan take action ringi ngul de swelt ange ma amruringi
Stablecoin is something that many people are talking about.
Yeah.
For
agriga sen tam le instructor gal was se morur tiangal. Outside and inside the complement and yakam amrur ni ka.
The president.
So am always resent malu ule amrur tiara tial.
President whips part of his
President
fintech
whips.
strategy
Okay.
and part of our discussions with
Yeah,
people
okay,
outside.
okay, ngungyang. President whips. El agi dam dengan wasitial digital residency dari la emskau makomru rengi au ulam kada masaw rengi. El atial Stablecoin. Ngogi wangarange komla ya whip sak murko makomru rengi lo spera kabelment.
The idea is about improving payments.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where
Okay.
President Whip said work on this project to see whether this is something we can do.
Improving payment. El angral, sibem lo ay swaseng ngaral kumbalir el ara silvela oblam omorur tel pilot project lo spe.
We approached several companies. In the end, there were only 3 companies that agreed to work with us.
Okay, ngaral kumbali.
Kings, Penthouse, and Surang Sons.
Surang Linsans. El ang ngaria, el ako seng ngaria restaurant del bloring. Ngara restaurant dara sila blur bela oblam
Penthouse.
penthouse. El akong lakrayo em de suite til ay gidelo say kay gidel del kumbali obong uspel lorur ngara trial rat ay gidel pilot project.
The way we selected companies was companies that were sophisticated enough to understand what we were trying to do, had the technology like free internet for this to happen, and were willing to do this. So we approached, like I said, at least 5 companies.
Okay.
2 of those companies decided not to work with us because they didn't think they wanted to make the effort. So we were left with those 3 companies.
Okay, el ako seng kamlutul mkataklil waseng ngududel tang omolab lorur tertiang ra. Tiagi del stablecoin ra sila government.
The funding that people are using in their wallets comes from our partner Ripple.
Maelang a president magaw a partner with Ripple euspe ra government merur tiang.
We are working together to experiment on.
So
on
yes,
this one.
it's yes.
Yes.
Tial tokol morurengi lo spera government merur ma e partner Ripple. Tiang program ra government, program ra Ripple gum amrurengi.
It's a program of government to see whether this can work.
How did you be authorized to do this with the government? Kom nagnay decide waseng di ikaw ma presidente decide waseng kami ang mabanggal Ripple emrur tial el program lo spera government. Mara employee ra government.
Well, again, this is a voluntary program
Okay, voluntary program.
for the participants.
Lo spera government.
Government employees are the initial pilot participants, meaning we ask them to volunteer for this project to see whether or not this can work in Palau.
Okay, melat tiagi del programa dim legaw ma presidente decider ngi mo spera government employee ra government emrur ngi for whose benefit?
For the people,
Whose people?
Palauan people.
With you as a minister and president in doing it for the benefit of people, who authorized you to do this?
For the pilot, we came up with a agreement to work with Ripple to see if this project can work in Palau.
Who made the agreement?
Palau and Ripple, President's Office lawyers and the lawyers from our partner Ripple.
And the lawyer from the government?
Yes.
How did you come up with that idea using the government employee to make a private company in the office of the Republic of Palau without OEK consent? As by law in the Constitution, you have to have consent from OEK to do what you're doing today. How did you come up with that idea?
It's not like we came up with the idea on our own. We met several times with OEK, with Ripple, to explain the project and share information on why this would be a good idea. And again, this is a pilot. We're looking at an experiment to see
Have you
whether
met
or
the
not.
have you met the OEK leadership or Congress to talk about what you're doing today? We using the government.
Yes, I thought so.
Who?
Well, senators, you included. If you
When
remember,
when did we talk about this
if you remember at the Amayong office,
Did we authorize you to do this?
well, we explained it to you, and
Explanation doesn't mean we gave you authority to implement this with government expense.
So we are operating this pilot with support from Ripple. We do not pay for the expenses that are involved in this project.
Minister, this is look like a bribery. Ripple give you money to make their business in the government. And we have not given you authority to use the Republic of Palau government to implement this private business in the government. And I don't think that's fair for people of Palau, Minister. I don't think it's fair. Before you do this, you must ask Congress to give you authority to do any business like this with government finance. El atiar do Mr. Minister hindi ka ma-presidente mla decide lo spera government marunong. And then, business ra president is included.
Yes.
My
We
question,
don't see it
my
that
question
way,
is, you think this is fair?
we don't see it the way you're describing, but I can see what you're
No, you
what
don't
you're
see what
saying.
we see because you are not representing the people like we as
Yes.
senators representing people.
Yes.
That's my concern.
Mm-mm. I understand what you're saying.
And what I'm thinking, maybe you should stop continuing kasto malmol bertial uspera government emrelianla malsum gomwala e pom staturngay dil sum ndiakanla e kami auspe government uspera adrala government brurngay I don't think it's fair. And I think in your right mind madangel wasen ndiakal malmal tatul morurnay. That's my opinion, and I will say something more after this.
Okay.
Tama ulang lungun sa senator sa Ngabaw.
Minister, I think as part of that process, I try mo understand dahil kasi ngayon ko ra laal maybe since ako kasing pilot project tal mo ringin ding a question na nga kasing ngayon nga 200 including you how tela amount ra do dalbas kami per person
$100.
di $100 tila ka mo file lang yung edits.
Is $100 required to be filed?
Okay, it's money that's being provided to you. A question na kasi sila obong mom arageng ilang mga obong charge sa PGST. Agi ko registered at PGST.
Can you ask that again, please?
Kasi mga obong charge sa PGST la sila obra 10,000 mamuren run rakar daragawin. Are they going to pay tax for that?
They should. They are receiving dollars.
How asking how? Mga
When they file for PGST, they
sila
will
file
be
mo
filing.
mala sila ludo dram rigel la mat charge it. Because obviously basically it's almost like going to a casino and you're using chips to play, so at some point you have to cash out. So
Exactly.
where are they going to cash out?
They cash out from their bank.
From their bank. Walang lingal mo ra bangire.
The money
So-
goes to their account.
It goes to their bank of whoever, Bank of Hawaii, Bank of Com account. So amal nga official grant agreement. Well,
MOU.
al sugum magamurura project. Haul mga language sa law kasi all grants and makarang are hereby authorized and appropriate and specific. Obviously, there's supposed to be a grant agreement. That grant agreement should have been approved by the Attorney General's office. Nakakamit our resources, Rablo Belaw. Your time involved in this project, being paid by the Republic of Palau, is committing Palau's time, which requires the approval by the Attorney General. At sugum in the MOU, the require resources, then you don't need to get approval from the Attorney General's office. And this is the question that I asked the Attorney General. Diagal aware of the project, and it hasn't been approved by her. And this is why Senate are concerned about it. You know very well kasi ang minister ay mal understand dahil process kasi marungol to ka ganila Attorney General give a stamp of approval ang minister. She's the lawyer for the government of the Republic of Palau. Hindi ang president's lawyer. It's the Attorney General that stamps everything for the Republic of Palau.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but I'm thinking about the process of all the grants we receive that the Attorney General does not sign or give approval to. So
It should, and I think that's where the issue is. She has to. Also kung makakamit the resources sa Blue Belaw, she has to sign off on it. Anytime you're committing, when I say you're committing time, is your time is committing resources sa Blue Belaw.
exactly, I understand. Yeah.
Oh, maul makakti. Walang ito kasi mga bring this to the attention ra kagidele Attorney General. Normally, Minister, and I got pilot project. I know you're very aware. Normally, once yung pilot project, take on like a third party, like saying the Nature Conservancy, kasi let's do this pilot project. And then I almost say, is this something that the government is willing to take on to continue? di sel di the start them ikaw a leader tiyang, and then you yourself is actually part of tiyang direkal ko ra questionable, even though it's just $100, it still doesn't look right. Then kokora, you're participating in itself, minister ma akora talaga wala concern, and I know whether it's $10,000, whether it's $100, the fact that you're participating in is you want it to succeed. You already made up your mind that you want it to succeed. It's supposed to be a pilot project whether it's good for Palau or not. So you should remove yourself from it and observe it from a distance. That's the role of the government. Not participating in it and enabling it to be a successful program so the government of Palau can use it. We're supposed to be the referee, not be the players. I hoping these are very valid concerns, and I'm glad we have a discussion here this afternoon. Small, then hopefully we have a better way forward. I myself, I think it's a program that probably is really good. That eventually that's the way forward. But the way we're just going about, it's questionable. You said that sometimes I'm missing from a different perspective. Maybe it's okay, but I think it's questionable. Laul magi bring up, and hopefully we can come up with a better way forward. It's truly beneficial for Palau, as you. Kita and see if it's good, and then okay, let's participate. So Sula Minister.
Okay, thank you.
Sula Chair.
Ano po? Minister, ako tay Minister Akmalureng Asulem. Al being presented el alsil septial hiring legay kit ya issue ra kin mga mga a session kay kit ya lokiu sel tengamin dire kal narawlaw lo tokoy HC mai kay ito pek ngala tokoy a issue akumta septial Senator el Altaim Ahmad Soril Momdangay a basically security artial program saya imong we're dealing with internet and cyber security is a concern. Ito halpol nga rin la cyber security. Sewan. O ngero nga katokoram na rulia sitosya obar murt din tira hatakat maklia luularal. So saya tara issue. Mang segi del pol plakatak kalwasem of course ang lamo plakatak akum taswa program el executive branch sa tiray kol morngi amal nga niya potensyal kiden. Hindi with dealing with the government process na issues ay kay kita concern our senators. Why al kidel mga ring plakatak nga niya understanding especially al nga niya executive order anything that president agil maklin sa authority na Ministry of Finance to launch malubang run a pilot program. Selol ko rin senators ang abaw munti na kalta na ang koram le concern that they brought it up and so other mamtang lisel MOU dire kalswa dal so mga ring grants been provided through tiay gitan repong malanga alub ko nga ring tentative agreement at least tel mera lobang kalay kel tengamil kimulgol wa se motakyar lobang kalati Digital Residency program elme ay kay gil tablol al program kami ongara al time mobile plakatakar senators malsum ko ngaringa proposal kidiul al marul maluben somi would launch al tokera la maluben regulations el polo pang kelani hindi ang dasan say kiti mal ko rapalit al issues el tira solid di ay kelol ko president ta senate malol ko senators ng baw amal klamaral tokoy kadum lang wa sito siya kut makli e obar murten din tiya ka alul mumang makarato rurten yung say kiti ato ko kim ako ra siya single kita mes most of the senators sa omen sing el altan mang kun nga aulan kun nga senator Aldrel o palpora senator rutim kung el pora Senator telam sama alreal saya gitu ya msulang kapang Senator udeng
Msula Chairman, Ritasil se Minister. Chairman, ang akangat yang naringigil concerns kung das olbira klulaw lokni wa agwi cloud ng President Hawkins Baules. Kaya the concerns of blood race, kada mangira third party mo check that process was say what happened, what's happening now. Kung das those independent third party mo review that process aling. We don't want to set a precedent moving forward. Wala sa next administration on May. Can get another project and use the government properties my time and do pilot projects at the expense of ubeng possible detriment to the Republic of Belau. Okay, tida question. Mang with that, Chairman, cellular under knowledge the President more reviewed that program at the Malamol. So I'm just here to ask and then but I will defer to the auditor lasing mo ang tetelel. Number one, ilang kali Kadilia, Mr. Chair, and sang employer Minister of Finance. Ngeng ra roller ngitel Ripple, ngegi diablo lo wading itang advertise Ripple. Number two, sell the second main trust stablecoin. Tel kong kluk, mukom na coin tel term kluk. Onda se kluk ngak la direk kluk tel velaw mong lagi do tergar other velaw direk. Tiak kluk lo sel. Ning in comparison mo sel kal direla Mr. Albo sa dang tel previous lo birak la. Ulula wal government. I think he got blocked in the resolution at stopping him the coin somewhere in Asia. Say number. Kailangan at yak medal dos isiro marulon lamgat mo lang. Al sumukom lemin tiyak lung temlet tela value ngi ya one other professional at tiyak mula say where's the source code and ta owner say yang arge itela value ngi mang cross border payments ma tax regulation. El tamang nga temporary structure. So min rule cross border payments at this time. I gave the 3 companies in Muspe. Also, to purchase services or goods or food. Mang gilid mo cash out. Ngarge which bank ka ulo pang gela Ripple partnership with the Ministry of Finance. Isel mo last question sa Ripple ang private telecom body adang nga shares sa kao President Alcel. How did you pick Ripple at nakal? Why in particular Ripple? How did you derive the Ripple company? Please mo ay say which bank FDIC registered and living FIC registered mo ra bang galong galterri. Tagi the stable coin. Sulang.
A lot of questions, Senator. Of course, Ripple is a separate company that is involved in this business, particular cross-border transactions. We, through meeting many people, talking about fintech initiatives and initiatives to diversify the economy, met up with Ripple. We talked with several, the President spoke with many of his friends who are in the industry, and they recommended that this would be a good company to work with for this particular initiative. We spoke with Ripple, and they agreed to come down and look at this further, which they did, and we looked at the different possibilities, and they agreed to work with us and take an approach to help us to develop a stable coin. The work involved meetings every week. Initially, it was myself who was doing most of the work, meeting with these companies. Eventually, we hired Director Anson for Digital Residency, and I assigned him to start working on this project to free up some of my time. And he worked with them and developed this project. In the weekly meetings was President's attorney, and when necessary, we involved other people, like from our IT department, to understand more of what we were trying to do, and also with working with the proposed structure, which involves banks, and trying to reach out and secure banking services to make this thing work. At this time, we are still only operating with our bank, We have accounts with all banks here, but we use one of the local banks to operate our payments for this system. Basically receives the money, and then we send the money to the minting, basically exchanging the dollar for the coins, put that on people's wallets. One of the local banks, I'd rather not name it publicly, but one of the banks that we use. Yeah.
Can you please name the bank publicly?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that information with you, just not on the air. So we worked with, we're not working with the bank, we are issuing payments from a bank. So there is no bank that's working with us for this. We are
Do they know that
sending
you're
money
using
with
them?
our bank.
Do they know that you are using them to do this project,
They know that we are issuing
the
payments.
stablecoin, for particularly in support of the stablecoin pilot project?
No, it's not a stablecoin transaction. It's a transfer of money between banks.
Yeah, sige dala. The question is sa liga FIC, you're a former FIC, director pioneer FIC rules. A question sa government traveler belaw with the local bank, which we refuse to name publicly. Do they know that you are using their banks to finance this or to do these stablecoin transactions?
Not directly,
So basically,
because we are not involving them in the stablecoin.
so
they-
basically you're using the government
they
as
are
a buffer.
facilitator. Not buffer. We are transacting with another bank. We're sending money from one bank to another bank.
Using the government accounts.
Yes, sending money that we received under our MOU with our partner back and forth to other bank accounts.
Also, Ministry of Finance receive payments from Ripple, cash
We are
payment.
receiving cash from Ripple for those $100 per account for the 200.
And how is that $100 converted into stablecoin? It
We
goes back
send
to
it
them?
to the company's bank account, and they create the coin on the wallet.
Any reason why you're not naming the bank?
Well, for the bank's purposes, not to.
Mariam,
Involved
tamalan mo
in-
Selvang, is there? I mean, you can just do say it's not. They're not legally bound or agreeable to this. But I got the three banks, FDIC. Mariam, tamalan or if you're going to name that bank.
We don't want the banks to have to answer any questions that they don't need to answer because they're providing services to us to send payments to other banks. We could use any bank that we have accounts with. This is just a payment from the government to another bank.
I think you're very instrumental in the developing the FIC rules and regulations. Actually, in that session, indirectly, while you're basically we're laundering the stable coin into cash and then back to stable coin, then back and forth.
Money laundering
Like-
involves a predicate crime. What crime are you
Government
alleging?
using, I'm not alleging, I'm asking because I don't know, I need your expert advice.
Money
on this.
laundering is based on a criminal activity.
How about using unauthorized government property?
Which property are you talking about?
Time, resources, my accounts. Those properties.
Under a government project that's very transparent, and we're talking about it today.
Okay, I'm asking you because, again, we're going to need a third party to check this out because, as the President said, it has not been authorized.
I've seen your request, and I'm expecting to talk to the auditor. Yes.
Chairman, again, ako differ mo auditor. Di Mr. President, Michael Blamdo nga, ako Michael Blamdo ra wala. Cell Ripple, it's a private for-profit company. Nga nga, ulmak mo concern tiyang Chairman, kung sulang Mr. President, through tell hearing. Because nga nga advertisement going on the internet. And there's Mr. President Whips, there's Ministry of Finance, Caleb Udoy Jr. And there's the former director, chairman of Banking and Insurance Senate, talking about the Ripple project. And after all this time, nobody knows also what's happening. That's why we're reacting to this. So this state to say a concern as a koshpe at the government, the local government for a private project, and we don't know the MOU. And you're trying to do an alternative payment system against the dollar. So I think we're not debating here. So for go to the hearing. So we need to find out whatever we can. But then again, more legal matter. We have to find out what's really going on.
Okay.
So,
Senator Lams.
Salamat. Malungil kilalsid sa ministerye. Madayat mo kaya pilot project. Gumesem beto kay benefits sa vel. Mera government vela logi revenue. E directo se revolutionize tial. Banking system gid. Oda dos pe adaler mo spe api ko na suntia stablecoin na sumong. Ba gumrak na singirel mutil mo gudama meeting na mo ni cyber security technology committee sir niya ramusaw gumrak na singirel mo niya kulon meeting rumilo ay sa gagidal el batog luriol morur lo gutial stablecoin ma digital residency lembato kay luriol sebel mo happen lo giulen el mo benefit in merki e dire el girel mo la monia program rumilo ay sa other velawle tangani radam ne soriril agi molar rumil mo explain it tell them not to the newspaper el week and sorira more public soril mo aware te the project e tenga with project hindi gora dir the pilot project hindi umila alta even soili loran mong ngirel monia commission el independent mo sabihin marang transparency Mangmoria Commission el mo separate el independent tra Ministry of Finance mauripel el oversee egalurel morun. In diagdek na sesele Palau International Finance Corporation se created at 2004. Sing actively ngobong kami lorior malubendia. El sum tobong kami ang rat tangaranga segit management malube the board segit el corporation.
On your last question, I don't recognize that company.
Palau International Finance Corporation. Sega Aware Ngil Corporation.
I'm not aware of this one. Which one is this?
It's just information ngilay lasing created established at 2004. Kawaisak mo management team niya responsible lo mes aurelik tagi the corporation yang ania governmental bailout ma Bank of Hawaii ma Asian Development Bank ma International Finance Corporation ma United States Agency for International Development ma World Bank.
I'm not familiar with this. 2004.
Okay, haber kelmutan mo sa information mo ay sa garuriw na. Hindi ko ram na ni related mo tiagi the Stablecoin project na lumagubil.
Yes, I'm not aware of that.
Lamodia ka kadirar senators. Vice Chair Committee Kaulaw Moscow malangaring iya para sa magmungimtung kal sa komite kaya po okay ito maulang sa President ng Senate po
Sulang Minister akmal ang mga ado Presidenta Senate takpa mo tabaygel tigingel iko mutral ko relate tel mo igel previous initiative ra government al milgat mok al ora more similar to what you are doing at the moment. Ngakadak adala mandak I'm not gonna dwell on the legality process ma step blam taken. We'll leave that to the maybe the public auditor malubeng adala mo meset selguk legal aspect ng hindi katokratral mo understand what you're doing and how it's gonna benefit Palawan people in general. Ako mo rigol ratam siya do when we initiate the Selguk program, and this is mostly finance, Ministry of Finance initiatives. Sel tialmle ACH program. Almo rulima arada di mo armarik deposita checks pay checks at tilmo legal banks. And I think one of the things we did overall lobang legal commercial bank, most of il accept sa al malubak the developer sa the system most of the armarik clear finance deposit at paychecks are employees of government and directly more individual bank accounts. So that's one example gumdas yung bilgat mok lo hindi ko lumrak na sing ulabangel ako raungil understanding Ministry of Finance President of course olbira kalulaw na sitiagi da adongot mok kaling tira dolas mamat mok kaling dem le start direct ko am lani pilot am lani tirgel ko am selected al employees rakabalment el wal le voluntarily ta sign up al morsegi del ACH programmer siya nga pa testing mode, and then eventually the transition el mo wal gora lo optional al mora role employees at masing you have the option di may sign up e mo nga at check ka will be automatically deposited mora bank account. At tara example dra initiative dire kal milgat mok sel ligar kalmle partnership lo bangel airport PPE lo PPP lo bangel airport management tale kombalas yabal and that was initiated the cook minister obiang amle tegali de seguide elurul lo bangala acombalil mo sa el negotiate seguir el PPP kada los el executor agreement se talgib separate lang nonya agreement di ayigida bebir agora initiative rakabalment in partnership with the private sector kada develop ay the program al moabol benefit other below mang akti el mutul emphasize ko masaying tuming guktiak sal masa legal problem ertial moruri lekumdasin ngogiwa authority kamiwa by virtue raka position ng mga en ngani el mandate kami agil morule baby rama el mandate takum na setel morul ngia is very much in line with your mandate lego mosigra atletal malum program el mos el help para mastria advera alternative a payment system el sibil choose low sparing etia dia bol require at masirul advela mo agiri low spare tial system hindi mo one option for them aside from using credit card malibaga o spare a checkbook and ngani tiagi del one option that will be available for them at maybe a much cheaper cost sige da kum daseng se del klaseng wal basis at tel morurungi not necessarily benefit di telal mo benefit tol other bela magumnas ng seguida ti sokal al mention ng ilang ang social support tayo al programmer kami again kalmutulon ngitik mas bol so il continue come engage lobangkel or bira kalulaw bol so edel al mo understand the both of us OCC level understanding ito kay ng sol gutmok lay galing tumi ako comments ringil nga niya close benefit mo mora other bela or a kantin masum nga niya gigil kantin bol so edel work together at the address maluba kada remulala al mo so el gutmok lay gigil mendiakal albolu uleng mungani gigil wal gora albiru gora teletal malubeng ka corruption el mo involved para sila process seguida mal so di emphasize rin sula.
Chairman, if I can just follow up with that. Thank you for bringing that up. And as we're talking, I'm trying to look for other examples that we've done in the past. And you brought up the ACH process, which is another form of electronic payment, although that's not so applicable because it's a banking service. It's a service provided by a bank. Other services which are third party, which is more the trend nowadays, like Venmo and Zelle and PayPal, those are third party services that are engaged, that work with the banks. So it's not really, there's no real comparable example that we have in our market. And I think that's really where the problem is. We don't have options. And to get those options, we have to try to do things that are not typical in a larger country's sense because they have these services already provided. But I also agree with you that it's really important to be careful when we're doing this, that we are doing it in the right way. We're following some kind of standards or protections, especially when it comes with government, with public money. And I think that's also part of the problem. Part of the problem why we don't have those services here, and this is something we've heard from the banks. You don't have a privacy law here, so we cannot provide this service to you here. So, I mean, this is also where I think the OEK should put some attention. And I think Vice President, when she was senator, put together a privacy law and put it on the floor. But that's something I think that we should also look at. We are proposing cybercrime legislation to include like cyberbullying. I think that's something else we should put some effort into, and it could be a crime that's tied to some kind of cyber activity, including cyber payment or electronic payments, that needs to be defined as a crime for it to be prosecuted or dealt with. So I think there are several other laws. And the last one you mentioned, I think, is really important for us because it covers the topic that I think several senators are bringing up, the PPP. You know, for us to do something, we don't have enough people here. We don't have enough qualified people here. We don't have the money to develop these kind of things. So we are relying on partners. We're relying on Cryptic Labs. We're relying on Ripple. We're relying on the Japanese for the airport project. And we were relying on the other energy company that we were working on the IPP for. So I think this is an area that, you know, we recognize, and we are trying to help put in some procedures or something to help with, especially these unsolicited proposals, which we do receive a lot of, and have a way to deal with them in a way that protects the public. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and I think it's a really big need for us, but not an easy one. You know, all of these separate laws are difficult to deal with on their own. So I'm glad that we have a committee that's targeting part of this issue on cybercrime, cyberspace technology, because if we are going to do more and more, we need to find a way to deal with it in a safe way. And you know, those of us who are a little older have a little bit more trouble dealing with it than a lot of the younger people who just accept it and throw caution to the wind and just put all their data online or, you know, spend money online regardless of how safe it is. So it's a good way forward for us, I think, through this experience with this pilot to come up with more ground rules, especially in legislation. That'll require a lot more communication with us and a lot of the experts that I'm trying to bring on board to help us out. So happy that we can continue this discussion going forward and really try to find a way forward that works for everyone. Yeah, thank you, Vice Chairman.
Alam mo na President tra Senate mo man kay mo. O mamo Senator matapal po Senator Rutim el po nga President tra Senate.
Sula Chairman, again, ang militasin si Chairman at again, ang kumda siyang ukadal down meeting. Lang involve ra ongoing process was local government, matimala government, ma minister la government. Ma kakuk tiso ka state for the record as a personal opinions the senators. I think is irrelevant at this time. Legal mildong ra Senate President o sa statutory authority ka ortiang. Isalbong mo sa legal opinion, adrala adruk mo lo asay. Hindi ka tigra statutory authority ka. And therefore, I will turn a grant. Some say that we're getting a senator. I say, where's the grant language? I will tell admit saying Ripple fund and dollars are coming into your. And again, I apologize. Alleged you're committing a crime. The money laundering is you take somebody's money, you touch and go, and then it changes and whatever. Same definition go understanding FIC, my legal definition. So getting Ripple private company, procurement on bidding process to find other alternatives. Minister highly questionable. Gagidal information, makamit tila Senator Dakalokarangan, mo take the time. Yung morning public uproar. I got questions that raised from the private sector. Because there are other companies that may be able to provide the same services of which you are wishing for. Mang sokal state ay gagidal yung tele Ripple, maybe we should ask the committee chairman, ask him, you have to have it in writing. Sell MOU, again, a question is how did you derive this? Tell him the personal. I get a question and they any senator saying na setyaungil and you know setyaungil barog, so maybe high potential is not. I'm going to promise you a breath from heaven. That doesn't work that way. It's a rule of law, statutory authority. This was state chairman and president saying, you have cow minister operate under the rule of law, my rules and regulations. So say give you in this part and it's missing. And we need a copy of that grant too. Also, I give not check. I got a report to the give it and so level provider. Sulang.
Aulaw mo na Senator Sangbaw.
So, kind of thinking forward, the minister. So, if it young or where does the government benefit from this? Sell transaction that normally whatever visa or whatever, malashil percentage. You're hoping that the government will get that percentage. Say that because right now it's currently being piloted by you. The government is getting. That's 100 tala that you get and you do the transaction. How much? What's the percentage for the government?
You're talking about digital residency?
No. I'm talking about this stablecoin process. Well, let me go back.
Okay, you're talking about the $100
yes,
part of the pilot,
right?
That we spend and
okay.
The benefit is not there. Basically, the Republic has now benefited from 200,000 in economic transactions.
Yes,
that's one benefit.
Okay,
but the two real objectives, what we're hoping for, is one, to reduce the cost of transactions, increase the number of transactions, and through that, economic activity, which will result in more economic growth. So through savings and more economy, the Republic will benefit. The estimate, if we're able to really take advantage of this, is at least 1% of our GDP, which is $300 million.
Minister, now, with financial services, whether it's Bank of Guam, whether they're paying taxes to the government. What you're telling me is you're taking another.
Yes.
So nga kabay ni Sokal, I
Not,
would
not
have,
Ripple, through a payment system. In the end,
yes.
okay, let me explain to you something that's really important. The long term, right now, this is being piloted by Ministry of Finance, but eventually this will be given to a separate entity, whether it's government entity or a PPP with a private company, to be regulated by another government agency. This is not going to be done by the Ministry of Finance because we're vested, right? So what we're doing now will not be the final version of what will become, and a lot of that is a what if, because if people choose not to use this, then it's not going to have any impact on our benefit or our cost or people's benefit or people's cost. So it's just another potential that we are exploring right now, and that's why we cannot push it forward as the thing that we're going to be doing, because we still have to study it and see whether or not this thing can work.
Yeah, and I'm totally clear on that. That's where it's the reason why we're piloting this kasi masel transaction cost as of el capture nga government. What you're telling me kasi tiyan mo our consumers, mo our vendors. Where's matiyanga to me what you're telling me kasi this is a totally a private endeavor that they should engage in rather than the government legal sukum ka reduce sa cost tra government. And if this is kind of a payment reduce sa cost tra government, so mo biota dola dudirar ad or taxirar ad, and then it's so I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay. So I mean, government benefits by the people benefiting, and the people is expressed in the economic growth. So the government benefits by more economic growth because more transactions are happening and more taxes are coming to the government, which can be invested into social programs like the $100 per child. So, I mean, this is how it comes back to the government, but essentially this helps growth of the economy.
From a pure perspective tax or something.
Mm-mm.
That's where I'm coming from the government perspective tax government. You're talking about it causing part iga namil help both ways rather than this money going to Visa or MasterCard or some bank outside of Palau that's not benefiting Palau. That's
Yes, yes. And the bigger the economy, the more taxes we collect.
In that sensing, is it something that we should engage in as a government, or I mean, Amazon My Yahoo, which is a really good platform now for ordering stuff, was not a pilot project for the government. It's some in not using the government resources. So that's why in the end the government mo realize it in form of more taxes to it and mo revenue
Thank you for bringing the Amazon up, because it's an example of something else we should decide whether or not it's worth doing a pilot. Two of the initiatives that we have been working on, and I think the Congress supports, is e-commerce and e-government. Those are kind of very similar initiatives that we need to decide whether we want to push. I mean, we have a lot of the UN, the ADB, the World Bank, they're all willing to help us go in this direction, but whether or not it's really a good idea, like e-commerce, expecting Palau to have an Amazon, it's probably a real big stretch. So, but for your question, the specific benefit to government is people have a better life, especially those in the remote areas, and a bigger economy means more business that's taxable, and the Republic gets more money can use in its programs for CIP and social programs.
And I think one thing that they actually do also major legislation mula environmental and socio-economic impact. Misat yang potentially malmogora drug dealers makpal. I'm really potentially direct malmering I siya alam dem drugs at although the will mess now it's really going to be even harder for them to sing. So those are the kind of things that direct ngungil tiang and then ngu open up baby yeah, so just wanna say that sula.
Laula mura Presidenta Senate.
Minister, musubes raigel mlegot talgament nga kandi nga concern nga ge minister sel kauma president connected el mura ripo yo spera kabelment ma resource kabelment uspera gaul ese minister a finance uspera adralla emru ratoil kamadangay india kala mla authorizer gaul mrur ngi mang diwaigel blaktung a Digital Residency Act milgat mok lebes ka authoritil mumrur ngi di elat tiagi del tora Stablecoin adir ka kala al mga mok egar elang esa minister get by the taxpayers money ma presidente ma amrur tial Stablecoin lo spera government seguida concern nga ndiaksal mura ditendi kam dang lia case ra a president Biden ma angalgel ndiakal ngaria seguida el connectivity seya ang concern nga ela kom la appoint taigel business el kamia omrura pilot project lo spe ya business ra family ra president ta connected to it. That's another concern crazer ngi leng omgot tial pilot project tangara outside emkat mok el momrek emergo ta submit ngi le kora government ta ngir ngi lo sengungil mukum submit ngi mera olbira kalula lo se tial project ta ungil mamrali alla bolse ed el mospe ngi government trablur belaw mara trablur belaw akum da se girer rael disel ngutial el compali el member go en ulo sisvira government uspera a government el mrura pilot project el mora private business ndiak sal gora mal traul de swek seguida gok la diak mal legida kam de ablur bela milgat mok logi wala menggire la igel bek la activity el government tamo so isbringi agire logi wala ndiak di gora adiak alla edoru raurior edodu lo se auriu lagi mo askrimiwa el momrura la ekada mol tauturnil el mora government malubeng mora private makamada india gi mom to ang idilla el girela ang idil showbile met mura sera blur belaw malubeng ngidil tol girela government agim la kongera a Digital Residency emla konger sele corporate registry el ngidil kombalil meso isbrela girel register emla yagorgaw mangirem dimrul gura regulation ekdamo tauterngay maigel bekla algirel ang idil watial shipping registry direkal milgat mokrala ekda kongerngay ndim lakal government ma segidel shipping amrura pilot project e auriu lekda mo kongerngay mrulala en magatmok e segidel el mrail dia do ngelo singongil dia kam tel dir kam meter tirak lugo gel mutel mal mom de mang seguida ki mol ngit ngir kaul wasei al sum ngungil lurior lamle ungil private el ripo ma bebirang outside el dia government aruli el mrura pilot project el momreg lo igel blaktung e submit ngil mer olbil ekadruli alla e complement tamo implement ngil lingungil baka mamadagi mom to ka ungil adi yon tigla wasay doru laurior el government tamo so isbringi el ngaringa ule kado momrul seya adi yon tigel da sweg ma ulak wasay tegi del morurungi lo spera government rela ma resource ra government glelungin stobringi em subil mo ungil em reliala em un maskamam gim brelil molla ebum statringi lo spera government resource waitel Digital Residency real giblam reliala em skom ko spera so resource ra government temrurungi seguida ko ti ko mesringi dil sumgo ko all the silwa say kado spera government temrura pilot project el girela private el showai emergol como mereka kuringi submit ngil memo ngoda osngederngi di se ako ko singe geringi andi ako dengan tiragi dar webira senator sa mga do loldu to malungil le kadoldu ngi ding segidal gulgor ngi losing akabalment ergid akabalment tralla madoru lalla edol tirak el motmok gilira adara bulur belo makabalment trabulur belo nga adiagi momtoga ngil program el girela akabalment mablur belo di gidak tung ministere at gibel nomring lagi la dakara alel ding di akal suadan brula urol di akal tirak lalla siya go ti ul swekal gire.
Yeah, thank you. I understand where you're coming from. I will talk to the president about it when I get the chance.
Sulang minister yang direkal mla almutal me open kita senator Quartey ma vice president del senator Gray Mario tamlo ratara meeting terkait namin tu pastri rate alman suku mengarni akadire eloke ababong senator Mario.
Dia ka buo sa drang dam to akmis lagi tilov dalam lo tal sigang madrangil mo. Akti rekal di mo president. Aktual ngit lo asal suman dia kala adorai sir ka stop rangi. Stop rangi tial sugum tiam private terkira kam langun lo tungira finance wat tialom sangle lablur bela lo pilot project rangi. Ako mas tilagi via bayungin stop rangi. Nakatulutul masadar rangi. So ngari om so del ngari a report ngari kel mel wasen awing la to tiang edo puto saudar ngi makadi duli seiki de dire kal dogal wasen ngara kantila igal gardel isur wawang e dos pelo maraklalo ay ngara kantil e dire kal dogal wasen tia komrungil mosur para ngara papulo ngara lil disher other bela mo spert tiang luego mas temal kasal other bela ngara internet kusal ada bela uspe ay kay gidel wong besel technology kadmo suru prangan ada bela lobat tegi del issue maktal nitro sal sum da katal melel tal bank tegi dia agira del mokra ya olbira lula bank ke dia au sebar bela lol tina kay gidel ula bank tal morur nga umna sendirga kalul maki timo pengila president nito ase stop ngi yan ngarinya kora the sue bolsa del kurang ma information me do southern din dia ka morur ngira especially al sela talom sagle la blur bela minister mak timo gege de modelo sen amna mudu protocol tor tigal senators mak timo bangila president tolin timo sim story sula
Oi minister akum tas wong yang re al sil segi daw lumu ratak klok el am ai wak klok kada urang asulem lo kumte era president tra senate ma bekal senators ma vice president ma floor leader e urang asulem al mlosop emel mir el alsil waigel lo ko ya president tra senate ma arbekla de ogiu seigit el ula digital residency e mo takang mo submit igel ko koratan tatip el report ngi المر أولبيل من سبق أمام الجو قومس الغرام مغارنية أقلوات الكلو متغير البكلاد الجيل تايجد الجو تغير ستيبل جوين ديرك الموتية قرأت الجيب التنتتيب اللوم صودل مالوب الجو كلو قران غارنية أبروبوز اللؤول مالوب مغمت مقلل إن ديرك المتبتين مر أولبيل أجد إملو كانسورن الجيل ما قلت يلقى ميتيل بالتاسكرين مي أم كتوم رقالمي away al koram lam katmok lang gal si social lu sa pala orngi edir akal pol makatmok la lu luas ng mga karado palo may sringi ertiarael segi dia korah mal dimle concern kamal masulang rateme mek paskate alam kupom ndung a closing arkawe elbot as milital hearing.
Thank you again, Senators, Chairman and Vice Chairman, President of the Senate, and Vice President. And congratulations on your new chairmanship and having a very good first hearing. I assume this is your first. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more questions to answer the public than less. But I think it's very important that we have these discussions, as difficult as they may sound. I think as long as we're all trying to move our country forward and help our people to have the best life possible, I think it's worth the effort for all of us. Although some of us are not elected. we are here to help, and that's what we're trying to do. So I'll discuss this with the president, and you'll have our report this month as soon as I have time to get in front of my computer and finish off the report, submit it to the president. And I look forward to more communications with you. What I'd like to suggest is, if you're interested, we can organize a time this week where we go and visit where all the documents are, and we can go through as many and more discussion in depth with documents in front of us, so we can make sure that you fully understand what we're trying to do. Bring your lawyers. I think it'll be useful as well to get a better perspective on what's going on and how we're doing it and how we're protecting people and making sure that the money is well invested in anything that we spend money on. Well, thank you again for the hearing.
Mal musulang minister hiring ade mertiang mga simulum sulang.